My name is Maren Kloppmann. I'm a ceramic artist. I work in porcelain. I have a studio in northeast Minneapolis. I was trained as a potter originally. I have been making functional pots for many years. Through years of training, I was really inspired to expand my repertoire, and my work developed eventually to push beyond the boundaries of what functional pottery is and blur the boundaries between craft, design, and fine art. We are at Circa Gallery in Minneapolis, and this is my first show in a fine art gallery. One of the things, Mark, in this exhibition is I absolutely love this wall. My husband is Mark Wheat, who is the evening host on 89.3 The Current.
And when people ask me if I'm an artist, I say, yeah, I sculpt sound. These ones actually are lighter than they look. Literally, it's maybe only a pound because they're pillows. They're light, they're fluffy, they're hollow.
Enclosing a space and opening a space. So I'm really trying to create accessibility by opening it up, at least in a very minimal way.
The architecture is key because when you're talking about vessel, it is a vessel, but it's not self-supporting. From a layman's point of view, they could come off as obelisks in a kind of abstract sculptural way because of their shapes, and you know how much I love Richard Serra, for example. An abstract sculpture like that in some ways kind of is threatening to the layperson sometimes, I think, because they don't understand it.
This is my new studio space and gallery. I grew up in northern Germany. At age 11, we moved to Bavaria. When I graduated from high school, I started a 3-year apprenticeship. 3 years later, at age 22, came to the United States to visit some relatives and eventually settled here in Minneapolis to go to graduate school and get my MFA.
Maren Kloppmann, a ceramic artist who I've known for a number of years now, working completely differently than I do, but one of the very exciting artists of our area.
Over the years, I have shown throughout this country, as well as in Germany and in Australia. I have pieces in the permanent collection at the Weizmann Art Museum, at the Minneapolis Institute of Art, at the Minnesota Historical Society, as well as Northern Clay Center. So in general, the feel of the gallery is to keep things visually light and airy and keep a minimalist emphasis in terms of the aesthetic, which I think best underlines my work. An example of that would be this piece, which is a large-scale coil-built vessel. It is this point where everything comes to. It comes to it structurally, and it comes to it by mimicking the contrasting yellow and black. They're all visually, subconsciously come to this place. Explaining all of this is very complex in its detail, but in its presentation and how it affects is very simple. In the back here is the studio space, and this is where all the dust and all the dirt happens. My wheel, that's an old traditional treadle wheel, which runs just with manpower, without electricity. So what I love about this is there's no sound. It's a meditative aspect about this. Pottery is not about stress, about multitasking. And this wheel, put in motion by moving my leg, brings that all to me. So I use these to get this really smooth surface, what we call metal ribs. This curve has been shaped into the tool by using it over, 15 years. That's obviously a curve I push into the clay. That shape there, right, it fits in there. The other type of material I love using with clay is wood. They almost become like what washes up on a beach. I love the feel of it in my hands, but that's important. It's you and your tools and your material. That's what it comes down to. Porcelain refers to the fact that it's a primary clay that has no organic impurities where it's found and mined. Slabs are used in my work to drape over molds. So the slab roller is almost like a printing press. These are my molds. They are partially made out of styrofoam. They are partially made out of plaster. The pillows that I use for my wall installations, they are also built out of slabs. You just pick up the slab and lay it on the mold by hand. This is how a dinner plate would start.
She's very, very intense about what she's doing, you know. Although she's repeating forms again and again, they're never the same.
This has been drying since yesterday afternoon, so this would be a dinner plate. I would cut along that line and split the plate in half. And this is how the plate would become a half a pillow. We're at the glazing process, and these pieces at this point, they've been through the first process of firing, so it can absorb glaze in a liquid form. I use liquid wax to mark shapes on the piece. This will be black and this will be golden yellow. I fire all my work in an electric kiln. This kiln can fire to 2300 degrees, which is kind of a standard high fire temperature for stoneware and porcelain. Having just moved into this new facility is a really most wonderful gift. Working as an artist simply informs and feeds the work that you do.
I think this is my favorite piece in the show. When she came into the space, reacting to the space and what it was going to go with, she decided to paint what she calls this shellac. This is kind of a signature color that's on the wall in her studio. So it's almost like bringing the piece out of the studio, but it has some of the feel of her studio in it too. It is so simple, but it's really tough to figure out how she figured that out. So it's such a simple break in the color distribution, but it creates a really interesting pattern in and of itself. I mean, the whole thing looks like it's dancing on the wall.
Maren has embraced this exactness and hard-edged relationship of forms and carried it to an extent where it has become far greater than most people who work in that manner.
I love touching it too, because when people come into a studio, obviously around porcelain, the word porcelain freaks everyone out and they like, you know, hold him back. But the thing about her pieces are they're so sensual because she spends a lot of time getting them really, really smooth. The glazes are smooth, and so they feel great too. So I always try and encourage people to touch the art because it's really sexy. It's always been a dream of hers to be a self-supporting studio artist that has work in a fine art gallery. So to see that happen over the last 5 years and to feel like I'm a part of it, giving her an emotional safety net, if nothing else, is what I'm most proud of in my life right now.
Having our passion as our work,
right,
and life itself, the boundary is completely fluid. Our social life is really going to events that connect in some way or another, right, to the work we do.